人参が食べられる。人参に食べられる。この2つの文はどういう意味でしょう？怖い夢を見た。あら、人参のお化けがいた？なんでわかるの？ Today we are gonna talk about the grammar. Passive voice. Passive voice describes actions in the perspective of the object in the sentence. So the object becomes the topic of a sentence. In English, it's a sentence like, This is written by her. Let's look at this sentence. みんながムーンちゃんを見た。The subject takes the action to the object. This type of sentence is called active voice. But sometimes we need the object point of view. ムーンちゃんはみんなに見られた。In here, the subject becomes Moon-chan and expressing someone took action toward Moon-chan. This is called passive voice and emphasizes the object of the verb's action. Conjugation. In Japanese, passive voices are formed by adding the helper verb られる to the verb. Let's look at how to conjugate verbs starting with Group 1 verbs. When creating the passive form of 読む, start with dictionary form of the verb. I will convert it into Romaji for easy understanding. Next, drop う vowel sound and add あれる to it. 読まれる is the passive form of 読む. Next, let's change group 2 verbs. I'm gonna change the verb 見る to passive form. This time, just remove る and add られる to it. 見られる is the passive form of 見る. Lastly, group 3 verbs. As for group 3 verbs, 来る becomes 来られる and する becomes させる. And the passive verb itself can be conjugated like group 2 verbs. ない form is 読まれない。ます form is 読まれます。Dictionary form is 読まれる。て form is 読まれて。Then let's make passive voice using passive verbs. Sentence construction. みんなが私を見る。When you make this sentence into passive voice, look for the object before the particle o or ni. That is going to be the subject of the passive voice. So, I'm going to place 私 here and place the particle は. You can use the particle が if you need to emphasize the subject more. Then, press the action taker followed by the particle に. This に has a similar meaning to the preposition by in English passive sentences. Lastly, place the passive form of verb. 私はみんなに見られる. And since this has been asked before, I will also explain a bit about the difference between sentence structure of potential verbs and passive verbs. So, potential verb expresses the possibility of an action or state. You will find the verb in a sentence like 私は日本語が話せる. Potential verbs also use the same helper verb られる as the passive verbs, unless it's a group 1 verb. That means that one verb can be interpreted in different ways and you need to judge what the sentence actually means from the structure or context. Remember these phrases at the beginning. 人参が食べられる。人参に食べられる。Although the difference in these sentences is only the particle used after 人参, it completely changes the meaning. The first sentence means I can eat carrots, and the next means I am eaten by a carrot. So to understand the meaning of a sentence, You need to pay attention to both the verb conjugation and the particles used. Now let's learn some passive expressions. So, passive voice works well when you talk about something that has been done to you by someone. 学校で先生に褒められた。先輩に買い物を頼まれた。Passive sentences can have a thing as a subject. This is used when you don't need to mention who did something. For example, この本は去年出版された。新しいレッスン動画が公開された。Passive voice can also be used for expressing that someone had done something annoying to you. ペッピーが電気をつけた。To express you as a receiver of the annoying action, you can express it like this. 私はペッピーに電気をつけられた。In the passive sentence, 私 becomes the subject that didn't exist in the active voice, receiving the action indirectly. 早く起きちゃった。The last expression is similar to this. You can use passive voice when someone does something to things that you own. The thing can be not only your belongings, but also your body, such as hands. And in most cases, it expresses annoyance or inconvenience. Let's look at this sentence. 妹が私のパソコンを壊した。The object of the verb is 私のパソコン. And if you wanna complain to a friend that your sister broke your computer, you would use the passive voice. And this is important. The subject is going to be the owner, not the thing. So in this case, the owner is 私 placed before the particle の. So, place 私 as the subject.Next is the particle は then action taker and に damaged item and the particle を is following. Finally, place passive form of the verb. In casual conversations, obvious phrases and particles are removed. So you would say 妹にパソコン壊された。Another example.誰かに足を踏まれた。The subject is the owner of the foot. When you talk about something someone did for you and it's a grateful thing, you use てもらう instead of the passive voice. 友達に宿題を手伝ってもらった。便利なフレーズを3つ教えます。私が学校に行ったら友達に連絡先を聞かれた。This sentence has 私 as the subject and everything is told from your perspective. この絵は800年前に描かれた。Non-living thing can be the subject in passive voice. 寝ている時に誰かに電気をつけられた。眩しいね。見てくれてありがとう。If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit subscribe. またね